Iman of Abu Talib in the light of Quran. Certain scholars, basing their opinion on Hadith, are of the view that Hazrat Abu Talib didn't recite Testament of Faith, that is Kalama, in his lifetime and adhere to the religion of Hazrat Abdul Muttalib. Therefore he was a non-Muslim, and that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam stated, "I shall pray for your forgiveness till I am refrained to do so." In support of their opinion, they refer to Surah Tawbah, verse 113, that states, "It is not for the Prophet and those who believe to pray for the forgiveness of idolaters, even though they may be near of kin to them, after it has come clear that they are people of hellfire." However, in the same surah, verse 23, it is stated, "O you who believe, don't take your fathers and your brothers for guardians if they love unbelief more than belief, and whoever of you takes them for a guardian are the unjust." Additionally, in verse 80 of subject surah, it is mentioned, "Ask forgiveness for them, or do not ask forgiveness for them. Even if you ask forgiveness for them 70 times, Allah will not forgive them." This is because they disbelieve in Allah and the Apostle, and Allah does not guide the transgressing people. Surah Tawbah was revealed in 9 Hijrah, and Hazrat Abu Talib died about 2 years before the commencement of Hijrah year. Additionally, in verse 22 of Surah Mujadlah, that was revealed in 2nd Hijrah, it is stated, "You should not find people who believe in Allah and the latter day befriending those who act in opposition to Allah and His Apostle, even though they were their fathers, sons, brothers, or their kinsfolk." If the proclaimed view is accepted, then how it is possible for the Prophet to pray for forgiveness when it is contrary to the orders given in earlier verses 23 and 80 of Surah Tawbah and verse 22 of Surah Mujadlah, assuming Hazrat Abu Talib was a non-Muslim? No action of the Prophet is against the will of Allah. Surah Najm, verse 3. Under subject evidence, the verse 113 of Surah Tawbah cannot be applied to Hazrat Abu Talib. Let us examine the status of Hazrat Abu Talib in the light of Quran. It is stated in Quran Mubin that you remember me and I will remember you. Surah Baqarah, verse 152. And remember Allah as you remember your fathers. Surah Baqarah, verse 200, implying remember Allah as you glorify your fathers. In the same context, it is stated that remember Ibrahim, surely he was a truthful man, a prophet. Surah Maryam, verse 41. Remember Nuh, surely he was a grateful servant. Surah Isra, verse 3. Remember Musa, surely he was a grateful servant and was a messenger, a prophet. Surah Maryam, verse 51. And remember Ismail, Al-Yasa, and Zulqafil, who were all of the best. Surah Sad, verse 48. Zulqafil was not a prophet, and he had provided shelter to a prophet for few nights, who had come to take refuge because of threat to his life from the prevailing king. In Surah Az-Zuha, verse 6, Allah states, "Did he not find you, that is Muhammad, an orphan, and give you shelter?" If Zulqafil remembrance, who gave shelter to a prophet for few nights, is remembrance of Allah, then Hazrat Abu Talib, who provided shelter, protection, and cared Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam more than his own children for many years, and this act is attributed to Allah, would not his praise be remembrance of Allah? On Allah's command to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, warn your nearest kinsmen, Surah Shura, verse 214, and that declare openly what you are bidden, and turn aside from the polytheist. Surah Hijr, verse 94. The first Islamic meeting was held at the house of Hazrat Abu Talib, which is also known as Dawat-e Zil Ashira. In this meeting, despite opposition from Abu Lahab, Hazrat Abu Talib asked those present to listen to the message of Prophet carefully and later continued providing unflinching support under severe enmity for the cause of Islam. It is stated, indeed, those who struggle hard with their wealth and their lives in the way of Allah are the truthful. Surah Hujurat, verse 15. Allah is with those who guard against evil. Surah Baqarah, verse 194. Do not incline or seek help from those who are unjust. Surah Hud, verse 113. And that withdraw from the polytheist. Surah Anam, verse 106. Additionally, in Surah Nisa, verse 139 and 144, Allah commands, do not take unbelievers as friends or guardians rather than believers. Do you wish to offer Allah an open proof against yourself? O Isa, I shall keep you away from the falsehood of disbelievers. Surah Al Imran, verse 55. If Allah has so much regard for the sanctity of Hazrat Isa alayhi salam, then what would be the status of those personalities who brought up the Prophet? The person in whose house the first Islamic meeting was held, in whose house the Prophet lived for many years, from whose house Prophet marriage procession proceeded, who read marriage bondage of the Holy Prophet and Hazrat Khadija, and the Prophet never disassociated from him, then that personality of Hazrat Abu Talib reflects a character of a believer, pious, truthful person rather than that of a non-believer or polytheist. In Surah Yunus, verse 105, Allah refers to his religion as Deen Hanif, upright religion, that is Islam. All prophets from Hazrat Nuh alayhi salam to Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam words of subject Deen. Surah Shura, verse 13. Allah commands in Surah Rum, verse 30, turn your face towards Deen Hanif. Similarly, in all ages, there were people who adhered to Deen Hanif. In Surah Mu'min, verse 28, Allah refers to a believing man of Pharaoh people. Moreover, in Surah Kahf, the people of Cave are referred to as believers, and Allah gave an example for the believers of wife of Pharaoh, Asiya, who was a believer. Surah Tahrim, verse 11. Ibrahim was not a Jew nor a Christian, but was an upright person, a Muslim. Surah Al Imran, verse 67. Similarly, in Surah Tawbah, verse 128, it is stated, indeed we sent a messenger from fine personalities. Both Hazrat Abdul Muttalib and Abu Talib were custodian of Kaaba and Muslim, because no man can be custodian of Kaaba except the righteous, a Muslim. Surah Anfal, verse 34. The Prophet was son of Abdullah, meaning the servant of Allah, that testifies that Hazrat Abdul Muttalib had belief in Allah. In Surah Yasin, verse 4, it is stated, surely you, that is Muhammad, are on the right path, that is Sirat-e-Mustaqim. And according to Surah Anam, verse 163, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is the first Muslim in this universe. As such, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was on the right path since his birth. Therefore, that personality who provided shelter, guarded and supported the Prophet for years was also on Sirat-e-Mustaqim rather than on the path of unjust. In Surah Al-Hamd, verse 7, Allah has promised to bestow favor on such people. Allah always reward goodness with goodness. Surah Rahman, verse 60. The person who is considered believer, truthful and pious by Allah, grading him a pagan or polytheist, would indeed be injustice of the highest order, and Allah does not like the unjust.